Hello, hello, my lovelies. Today we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 2. I just finished it last night, and I'm going to have some thoughts about it, so without any further ado, grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's jump into it. Roll the intro. Welcome back. Now, I'm going to first tell you the premise of this season. The premise of Stranger Things Season 2 follows what happened in the events of Season 1. Will is now back from being kidnapped, and Will has been changed by his experiences in the Upside Down. We also follow the repercussions on Mike and Elle, or 11, as, they're trying to figure out things that happened after, which shows that there are repercussions. This isn't the kind of show where, the big ending happens at the end of a season and then it repeats over and over again, and that the characters don't have any development or any issues after the following season, which I preferably really liked. There's also an issue that, also ignore this purple band on my hand. I put on a hair tie that I used to separate my hair when I was dyeing it, so now my wrist is dyed purple, so ignore that, please. I really did like how they went about this season. There was some things with the pacing I didn't really like about this season. The pacing did feel a little bit off, like they were trying to figure out their groove earlier in the season, but it did pick up towards the end of the season. Because we see that Will is now attending experiments or sessions at Hawkins' lab, which is where the gateway to the Upside Down is, and there's all these different repercussions of him seeing flashes of this new creature that everyone just keeps telling Will is just a manifestation. It's just his imagination. It's just, probably something he's seen a year ago, because the events of the first season and the second season are a year apart. And there's, Mike dealing with him thinking that Elle is dead. Everyone thinks that Elle is dead, while Hopper is actually holding her at his cabin because he knows that there's people that, if they knew Elle was still alive, that they would want her back. And we see a lot of development from Hopper in this season, and I did quite enjoy Hopper's arc. As for Elle's arc, I didn't really prefer what they did with Elle this season. I understand that she became a popular character and they needed to do something with her. But the way they went about it could have been done just a little bit better, in my opinion. And so throughout the season, we see, the party is moving on from Elle and they're going through a new year of school. Will having his repercussions with his experience in the Upside Down, Elle having to deal with now being stuck inside and not really being able to go see Mike. We see Hopper dealing with taking care of Elle, and plus his new relationship with Hawkins' lab, and everything that came after the first season. Now I'm going to go into my pros and my cons of this season, starting with the pros. The first pro that I really do have to say is the acting, again, was great in this season, especially from the actor of Will. I believe his name is Noah Schnapp. I looked it up. I'm pretty sure it's Noah Schnapp. And acted his ass off this season. Hats off to Will's actor, because this season really did give Will a lot of emotional moments of being possessed by the mind flare, being, having to deal with this new thing inside of him and having to deal with, all these different things going on. And I really did enjoy the acting of this season. It was good. The acting of this season was good. I did like Hopper's arc. That's number 2. I did like Hopper's arc in this season. And I feel like they did tie a lot of Elle's with Hopper, and they kind of used Elle's as the catalyst for his arc, so to speak. But at the end of the day, I did like Hopper's arc. Sean Astin as Bob, that was great. I really did like them bringing in a new love interest for Joyce, and they do this thing where they turn this kind of trope on their head with Bob, where Bob is, you know, the normal the new stepdad or the new boyfriend that's kind of goofy. He's kind of quirky. He doesn't really understand the full dynamic of the family and what's really going on. And he kind of has his shortcomings in the beginning, and he's kind of a dork. He's kind of just like there to be like comedic relief. But towards the end of the season, they make his weird, quirky things, his what they think was his shortcomings, they turn those into his strengths. Like, Hopper didn't know coding, so it had to be Bob who knew coding to get everyone out of Hawkins' lab. And I did like seeing Sean Astin, but at the same time, I can't unsee him as Samwise Gamgee. I kept wanting to call him Sam the entire freaking time. Every time he was on screen, I'm like, oh look, it's Samwise Gamgee. I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't see him as Bob. I kept wanting to call him Sam. I'm like, Sam, it's Sam. So, I'm sorry about that one. Steve Harrington, number 3. Steve Harrington was great. I loved Steve Harrington's arc in this one, because Steve was kind of a dick in the first season. I mentioned that. Steve was kind of a dickhole, not gonna lie. Steve was kind of a dickhole. But he turns around this season in such a good way. And I think my favorite scene of the entire season was Steve and Dustin on the railroad tracks. And he's giving Dustin all these kinds of like tips about girls and like how to be more attractive. And he tells him, use this certain shampoo 3 times a week, do not blow dry or something like that. And he's like, if you ever reveal this to anyone, I will hurt you. Like, Steve being like the pseudo babysitter of the party was great. And I love the thing about Steve, like, he's kind of just clueless when it comes to this stuff. Like, first season, he gets so surprised when he sees the Demogorgon. But this season, he's been around the block with these things. But at the same time, he still seems very kind of like, what's going on? I guess I'm just gonna hit this thing now. And him going out to defend the kids in the junkyard was such a great moment. I did not want Steve to die. Where last season, I wouldn't have minded. But the interactions between him and Dustin, which I love Dustin this season. Dustin, the person that plays Dustin has such great comedic timing. And Dustin had my whole heart this season. I think Dustin and Steve were my favorite characters of the entire season. Simply because of them interacting. And Dustin is just great. Dustin is hilarious. I fucking love Dustin, y'all. Dustin's amazing. It was definitely more intense. There was a lot more, intense moments in succession. And I did pick up on quite a lot of references to 80s things. The references. I did notice quite a bit of references to, like, popular things of the 80s, like Max wearing Michael Myers, the boys wearing Ghostbusters costumes and arguing over who was Vecman. There was a couple scenes that really reminded me of, like, E.T. in a way, kind of like Gremlins. There was, I think, references to, like, The Exorcist in there as well. Alien. I did like a lot of the references, and they weren't, like, full-on in-your-face references most of the time. I liked the way how they were, like, kind of subtle references, like, if you know kind of things. And I did enjoy that. Like, it wasn't just, like, full-on in your face, except for Max, the costumes that the kids were wearing. The other references were subtle, but I see you, Duffer Brothers. I've seen them. Good for you. I liked the references. Relationships between the characters are so well written this season, except for one particular episode. I think we all know what episode I'm talking about. That's episode 7. But there's this, you can just tell there's just this beauty and this understanding of these characters. And it doesn't even matter the side of the argument that you're on in the show. Like, there's this argument between Hopper and Eleven, and you can understand Eleven's frustration and why she's upset, because she's upset that Hopper keeps telling her, oh, you'll be able to go see your friends soon, 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 and nothing really happens. And then you have Hopper, you understand Hopper's wanting to protect Eleven because he's already lost one daughter, and he kind of sees Eleven as his new daughter, and he wants to just keep her safe, keep her home where it's safe and there's no bad men to come get them. And he doesn't want her to disobey those rules, and possibly exposing her to her friends again might cause the bad men to come after them again, and come after Elle especially. So you understand both sides of the argument, but you like these characters so much. It's just truly a beautiful thing when you see it. And you can really tell that the actors are probably really good friends off set, because you can just tell it in their acting. They acted their ass off this season, and the relationships that a lot of the characters have is truly beautiful, and I love the way that they took a lot of these different characters this season. Now we're going to move into the cons that I had of the season. The first con that I have, number one, is the pacing felt a bit off until episode 5 or so. Like, you don't really know where they're taking the story until episode 5. And I understand they wanted to, like, give these characters some room to breathe, some time to, establish the new characters like Max and Billy and Bob and all that other stuff. But you couldn't really tell where it was going until episode 5. I feel like that could have been done just a little bit better, but otherwise than that, I didn't really have any issues with the pacing. Number 2, I didn't like how they kind of had Elle go on this whole entire arc by herself and not really give her much to do besides go on a crime spree with a person like her. And I don't understand why that episode was in there. It felt very much like a Backdoor Pilot, which was episode 7, The Lost Sister. And while I did enjoy Elle, kind of learning how to use her powers a little bit more. A bug just flew in my face. Ew. I didn't really like that whole episode because they could have went about Elle using her powers more without having to have someone like her, which we've seen this in this episode, The Lost Sister, before. We see only a little bit at the beginning of the season of these people, and I personally thought that this person that was like Elle would have more of an impact on the story, because right now Elle is kind of OP. She's kind of the only person that can destroy the creatures of the Upside Down. Elle is kind of OP, y'all. So I thought when we saw that this person was like Elle, that they might come with her. I thought that was the whole reason of sending Elle off on this arc of finding her other sister, the person that was also in the rainbow room with her, and finding her mother, and her mother wanting her to find this person. I thought we were going to bring this person back with Elle to Hawkins. I thought maybe when we seen that they were part of a crime gang, that maybe Elle would turn her sister around and have her come home with her to Hawkins, and then there could be like another badass with Elle, to take on these creatures and to repair what had been done to not only them, but the town of Hawkins in general. So I was really sad when we seen that person wasn't going to come back with Elle. I believe her name was Callie or something. And I was really sad because I did kind of like her as a character. I thought maybe she would have more of a character arc, like she's this rejected person from society, and she has this other group of what she calls outcasts, and I thought maybe Elle would turn them around and kind of have Callie come back with her. Like, maybe her group tells them that, oh, we're not going to go to some bumfuck town with you. You can go if you want. And Callie maybe, looks at them and is just like, you know what? You guys go do that. I'm going to go back home with my sister. And that would have been a great character development for her, being like, you know what? Revenge isn't worth it. We need to actually help people like you. And I thought maybe that would have been a good arc, but we didn't get that. I was so upset. I was so upset over that, y'all. So, I didn't really like episode 7 or Elle's arc, and reintroducing her at the end of season 2. As soon as I heard the Demogorgon in that intense moment get hurt, I'm like, it's Elle. And then you see the door lock. I was like, yeah, it's Elle. I think we all could tell it was going to be Elle. So I didn't really like that. And my last con with this is the subplots didn't feel like they really had any coincidence on the story. Like, you have Dustin finding a baby Demogorgon that he first thinks is a slug, and he names it D'Artagnan. Although it was a funny kind of arc in a way, I thought maybe it would have more consequence on the story, but instead of it just being D'Artagnan, the baby Demogorgon, there's actually a lot of Demogorgons. You have Elle's arc that really has no consequence on the story, besides Elle has now an edgy look. There's the whole subplot of Nancy and Jonathan going to this conspiracy theorist journalist guy named Murray and trying to expose Hawkins' lab for what they did to Barb. And that really had no consequence on the fuller story at hand. I felt like those should have had better consequences to interact with each other. Like, maybe Elle finds some information about her in her mom's mind about Hawkins' lab or the Upside Down in general, and she comes back with her sister, and they're able to come in and, fight and also tell the rest of the group this specific piece of information. And maybe that same piece of information has to do with something that Murray has, and maybe there's like a paper that Murray had or something, and they bring the paper back or a picture of the paper back, and that coincides with what Elle's mom knew. And then Dustin, I kind of wanted him to turn the Demogorgon to good so they could also have like a pet Demogorgon or something. I thought that was going to happen for a minute. I was like, oh, are we going to get like a Gremlin situation where D'Artagnan is like the good Demogorgon because he likes Dustin, and Dustin is like the only one that can really control D'Artagnan, and they kind of use D'Artagnan to kill all the other Demogorgons. I thought that was gonna happen. You know how awesome that would have been? I understand that, like, it wouldn't make sense for the rest of the story, but I thought it would have been really cool to have, like, a pet Demogorgon, and, like, Elle and Collie and Dustin are, like, the only ones that can really control D'Artagnan, and, like, D'Artagnan becomes, like, the biggest of all the Demogorgons, so, like, the Demogorgons aren't a problem anymore. That would have eliminated one problem. And then maybe, like, the Mind Flayer at the end of the season kills D'Artagnan, and there's, like, this emotional moment where you're actually crying for the monster that you hated last season. Wouldn't that have been awesome? I feel like that would have been fucking awesome. But didn't get it. D'Artagnan is just as evil as the rest of the Demogorgons, and I was so sad. I was so sad about that. But that's all really about the cons about this season. It was pretty good. I didn't like it as much as I did season 1. I think I did like it a little bit better towards the end. But I think I like it just as much as I did the first season. I'm probably going to give it like a 7 on the scale. I feel like this was a good, solid season. I really did like this season. And the emotional moments didn't really come until the very end. So I'm really mixed about this season because I didn't really like the beginning. I do like Max. I hate Billy. I hate Billy. Where I used to hate Steve. Billy, I fucking hate Billy. I hope he dies. Now, if you aren't familiar, this is my first time watching all of Stranger Things. And I know it's popular right now. But I hope Billy dies. I can't stand Billy, okay? I can't stand him. I'm sorry, all the Billy fangirls, but I want this guy to die. I want him to pass away. Okay? Thank you. If the Duffer Brothers are watching this sometime back in time, I'd like Billy to die, please. Thank you. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Don't tell me if he does, though. I want to enjoy that moment, okay? Still hate Billy. I understand that him and Max come from a bad home, but I fucking can't stand Billy, okay? Can't stand the guy. Can't stand him. So, I'm probably going to give it a 7 on my scale. I will watch season 3. I do have a best friend that is still making me watch Stranger Things, and I know she's probably going to watch this video, so say hi in the comments, Mac. I'll probably pin your comment because you're the one that's making me go down this road. This content's only possible because of my best friend, so yeah. I'm probably going to give it a 7, 7.5. I did like it a little bit better than season 1 when I'm really thinking about it. And it did, the intense moments, I kept debating just starting season 3, like, right after I finished season 2. So I was like, maybe I should start season 3 immediately and just do the video later. But we're here. We're here now. We're at the video. And I will start season 3 very soon. Because I want to know what happens. And I think that, for the simple fact that I actually do want to continue watching, means that I liked it a little bit more. So I'm going to give it a 7.5, where I believe I gave season 1 a 6. So, it's getting better. It's definitely getting better as it goes. So, that's what I got for you guys today. If you like this video, please hit the likes, hit the subscribes, press all the buttons, do all the things. You know what to do. You can always change your mind later. I'm bad at the whole YouTuber spiel. I don't just talk about Stranger Things. I also talk about books, movies, TV shows, anime. Anything that I find interesting, I talk about it on the channel. That's why the name is The Random Show. It's random for a reason. Let's talk about this in the comments. Who's your favorite character of season 2 of Stranger Things? I think my favorite characters were Steve and Dustin. And I'm going to leave that there. So, I hope you all have a great day, and I love you all so, so much. Have a good one. Bye.